There we go. All right, folks. Little bit of technical difficulties today, so Leslie's actually calling in, and I'll be relaying to her some of the comments and everything. But anybody ask, talk about anything you want to, as far as this is all about the ranch and what the recent pictures, and it's just kind of being an ambassador for CGF. But hey, Lesley, say hello, and I want to see if everybody can hear you.
Hello. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, give me a thumbs up if you can hear Lesley. You should be able to hear her. Thanks, Brent. Yeah, it's a nice intro. Lesley just gave that to me, what's it been, about a month ago? It's really...
something like that. I just thought it was effective.
Yeah, it's very effective. Yeah, I'm going to change it into my intro.
Dogs are barking.
That's all right. I can't hear them, so... Hi, Lesley. Loud and clear. So you're coming through loud and clear, according to Dylan.
Jolly good. Wonderful.
So, hey, Dylan, I'm going to send you some information about... Lesley having the same problem you did. So I'm going to send you some information about allowing certain websites to come through. That may be the reason, since you don't get on it too much. But anyway, everybody.
Hello, everybody. I can see you saying hello.
So she's watching it. We couldn't get her on video-wise, but she's here live and can hear. She can hear everything I'm saying and can read what you all are saying. So, but she'll see a little bit of a delay. So I'll be relaying stuff to her as we go. Relays. Wow, it's rhyme time. So let's see who.
I can get them all barking, Brent, if you want. I can just read in Brent's comment about the dogs barking.
Oh yeah, they're coming.
Set them all off if you'd like.
Yeah, they're coming. That's coming through pretty quick, actually. Yeah, mine were barking a little bit ago, and I've got a little beeper. It doesn't zap him, it beeps him. Boy, he comes running in the house, and little Bailey comes right behind him. Well, listen, everybody, we're both glad we see everybody here chilling. It's nice to see you again, Danny B-side. Been a little bit, but nice to see you again. Caroline.
Caroline is one of our ambassadors.
Oh,
Rick.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I recognized the name.
Duncan.
Wow, Duncan. Awesome. I'm so glad to see you join us today. Oh. Robbie's, we're getting a nice little crowd here. Robbie's. And you all let me know. Yesterday there was an issue with people not being able to hear me. Let me know if I'm coming through loud and clear through the broadcast. I just want to make sure that I got that issue resolved. It was a human error on my part, which majority of the time it is when I'm trying to get different things going. We were trying some new stuff yesterday. But let's get back to the task at hand. Lesley, why don't you just tell me a little bit how all this got started with the pictures and all that?
Yeah, I have a friend who is also a great supporter of the 𝐃𝐞𝐫 Foundation, and he was actually in Tennessee last week, and he paid a visit to the ranch on Friday, and he took some pictures, and he sent them to me on Sunday evening. And to say that I was gutted is an understatement. It's just deteriorating beyond belief, and the fact that it's been allowed to do that is just, to me, it's unfathomable. And like I said in the post on Facebook, I literally felt like I've been punched in the stomach. It was just, it's awful. When you think, there it is. When you think we have been working for nearly 15 years to try and save this place, and I honestly feel now, looking at that, and I can only imagine what it's like further around the corner, it's going to be a last-ditch effort to save the structures.
Yeah.
You know? It's...
Yeah, I saw the picture come through when I was doing the live cast, and I sent it over to Cam and Rich to show them, and it was then that I kind of decided I need to try to do something here and get more of an awareness out there other than Facebook. And this morning I just got, I saw the post. She put up a couple posts, and I'm going to share that. I'm going to share kind of a little bit of history of what this place has looked like. I got a little slideshow put together. Lesley sent me some pictures. Go ahead, Lesley.
When you think of how it's deteriorated since these owners have had it, it's crazy. But I've emailed the owners and said to them, sort of, ask us for help. I'm sure we could mobilise some Elvis fans to do some tidy up work or some basic work on the property. Obviously, it needs professional historic preservation people to do the big stuff.
Right.
But, I'm sure the basics, we could mobilise some Elvis fans to help, even with clearing the greenery. There's an outbuilding, a little shed, and you can't see it now. It's disappeared behind a bush or in a bush.
Yeah.
And then also, exactly, Caroline, one storm and there'll be nothing left.
Oh.
But I've also emailed the governor of Mississippi and sort of said, please try and step in and do something.
Right.
But, we're at their mercy. There is nothing more I can do. I feel like I'm banging my head against a brick wall at the moment. But we need help, and we need everybody to get behind us and help.
Yeah. Well, Brent, that's a good question. And obviously we can't physically say anything about the integrity, but if I'm sitting here looking at this picture, let me pop it back up again. And you guys all know that my background was in building hotels, and I've worked on homes, built a few homes and stuff like that. So a lot of renovations. Now, when you look at this, the majority of the decrepit part of the structure is the porch awning and all that. But you look at the house now, and you look at the roof, everything's still, there's no caving in, there's no, it doesn't look like there's any kind of rot that's causing stuff to fall down. The corners look straight. So to me, my gut feeling are the bones of this structure are still really good.
What you've got to remember is the front facade is brick.
Yeah.
That is in good condition. It's round the corner from where that photograph is, where the main back porch is, where the big picture window used to be. That is a wooden structure.
Yeah.
That is where the major problems are. But, like I said to you earlier, Rick, I have been to a historic property that was in much similar condition, which was all wood. And, that has been preserved, restored, and is wonderful, and I've visited it.
Yeah, what I'm going to do here, since you brought that up, is I put a slideshow together, and Lesley, in the slideshow, you'll see what she's referring to with it. But you're going to kind of see a history of from 2008 to now. So what is that, 17 years of how the building has looked. And the first ones are when you were there, right, Lesley? 2010?
Yeah. 2010 was the first time I went.
So here's... Oh, wrong one. Sorry, guys. Okay, so this is 2008. Go ahead and say a little bit about that, Lesley. Did I lose you? Oh, no.
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Oh, yeah, you're waiting for it to pop up. Yeah, you're waiting for it to pop up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that is the side view that I posted this weekend, the equivalent view. That is what it looked like in 2008.
Right.
And so you can see there were windows. It was structurally sound. And, I think probably around that time you could still go inside. But,
and I think if you draw back on the picture of today, I think the windows are boarded up now, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they've boarded all the windows up, and they've even removed the picture window that was on the back porch. That's gone. They've removed that completely.
Now, what part of was this the main house, or was this a?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
This is the honeymoon cottage.
Right.
As it's called. It wasn't the honeymoon cottage, but that's what it's known as.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Hello. 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 Hello.
It's one of those days. I'm having finger problems here, hitting the wrong buttons. Okay, so the next one here is 2010. The day let me know that if I got this wrong. Now, this is the picture where three of you are out in front of looks like the front of the house, the steps going up to the door.
That's the side elevation. The front of the house is on the right as you're looking at the picture. You can see the back porch on the left, and then the fields.
Right.
Now that's the door where you used to go in.
Right.
Where Elvis used to walk up those steps and go in there.
Now, if you go to, you take it now. That's 15 years ago, almost 15 in August when this picture was taken.
Mhm.
You don't
Yeah.
see any of the mortar. There's no tucking needed for the brick. It looks very sound. Let me see if I can. I can't. Well, yeah, I can. Hold on a second. Let me do this. Oh, I don't want my picture in there. Okay, so I got to take the lock off. All right. So let me see how much I can blow. So if you look at the brick there, it's really sound. This 15 years ago. It looks like they've done a little bit of tucking, which is filling in spaces, but it's very level. The concrete slab is you can't see any cracks. Even the railing going up doesn't look rusted and falling apart. Of course, there may be some rust on it, but you're going to always get rust on metal no matter what. You get it within a day. Sometimes if you have a really bad storm. So,
I mean, you've got to imagine when I went there on that day, I stood there and I was upset because it was being let rot.
Yeah.
Imagine how I feel now looking at it 15 years later.
Yeah. I think what really irritates me about this whole thing, and you touched on it with your letter to the governor, and I'm going to show everybody that it's all right for me to show that. Oh yeah, you posted it.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I'm going to show that, and we're going to go over what was said but you touched on it about here is probably the most what would the word be? Let me. And that's my wife's calling in. Anyway. I had to send her off on. Here is the most prominent person to ever step foot out of Mississippi in me, and you've got a structure, you've got a place that if they did it right, it would be a great tourist attraction for Elvis fans. What is it? 10 miles away from Graceland?
Yeah. If that.
Yeah. People would love to go through that because there's so many pictures. The story is so well known. I mean, they talked about it a little bit in the movie Elvis, and it makes me sick when I see these pictures myself because of my background, first of all, in construction, but second of all, because of being a fan of Elvis.
I mean, when you consider the ranch is a different side of Elvis. It's Graceland's wonderful, but the ranch was where he went back to his roots. And all I've ever wanted is for people to experience that. When you stand on that property, there's just something about it that you can really understand why it meant so much to Elvis at that period in his life.
Right.
And it's a crying shame. It's a crime. It's a crime that it's been let go like it has.
Sally's got a question here. I'll read it to you. It's not. Sally Belling, is it a listed building, or does America have different rules on houses? That's a kind of an interesting question, but yeah.
Sally, it's a good question. It is actually on the National Register of Historic Places. So it's not just the building, it's the entire property.
Yeah.
Right. So, and as such, we had a historic marker erected there in 2021. But it is on the National Register of Historic Places, and that's what I can't understand. It's a historically significant property that has been recognised by the government, and the state of Mississippi has let us sponsor a historic marker there. It's an important historic property, and still the owners are letting it rot.
Yeah.
Literally by the side of
they're
the road.
Losing money. That's what gets me.
They've been losing money since they bought it when did they buy it? 2014?
Yeah. You wonder really what their ulterior motives are in it. Are they doing that in the aspect of, I don't strike them as being very big Elvis fans, obviously. And
they're not. There's one of them.
Are they doing it as a fallback for a tax break?
I don't know.
Because they lose money on it. I'm sure the property value has got to go down every year.
Of course it will. I've said in those 2 emails today, if the structures that link Elvis's tenure at the ranch, if they disappear, they are left with a piece of Mississippi farmland.
Right.
They are losing money by the day. By the day.
Yeah,
and this has been going on since.
Go ahead, Lesley.
Go on, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
No, it's fine. Go
on. Cam and I and Rich yesterday. Cam and I and Rich yesterday, after we did our show, we talked about it a little bit because that's when I showed them the pictures and that you had sent me, and we were saying the same thing. It's just going into just a piece of land, for whatever they want, and there's so much potential. And I said this a little bit ago for revenue for the state, for the owners, for if they don't want it, sell it. Sell it to somebody that wants to, make because it's going to go. People go to Graceland and Elvis Week. They're going to take a 10-mile drive. They go all the way down to Tupelo. They can go right by it on the.
I mean, you could get revenue coming in without doing much at the property.
Yeah.
The land that's there, you're talking 156 acres.
Yeah.
You could do so much and not spend very much in the beginning to do it.
Yeah.
That you could start bringing revenue in, which would pay for the repair, and protection of the important pieces on the land.
Right.
And I mean, we produced a document in 2012, which was called The Circle G Experience, Our Vision for the Ranch. And I updated it maybe last year. And when you sit and read that, sorry.
That's all right. That's all right.
Next door are drilling.
Oh, no, that's fine.
They set the dogs off. And if anybody wants a copy of that document, I can email it to them.
Right.
We explore so many avenues in that would raise revenue.
Yeah, why don't you send me a copy of it and I can use it in one of our discussions again down the road. I'll put it in my folder. I got a folder of CGF stuff. So, I mean, it's just, the potential. It's just, and you know what? If I'm not mistaken, being a historical site, that set up, I'm sure that for anybody that wants to do something with it, there's got to be some kind of government grants to restore.
There's funding. We looked into all that. There is funding available.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying that there was when we looked into it. I don't know if things have changed in the present economic climate.
Right.
But there was funding available.
Right.
We've dug into all that side of things just to try and persuade the owners to get the finger out and do something.
Hey, Cameron, glad to see you pop in.
I get very passionate about it.
I was furious. Like yesterday, I saw the pictures, and then this morning when I woke up and saw the post that you put up there, that's right then I said, yep, we got to do something. That's when I contacted you and said, what do you think about this? Because I want to make some more awareness other than just a post on a Facebook. Let's have a discussion.
Yeah.
All the fans, they've got, they got thoughts about it,
But the thing is, Rick, like you said, we need to mobilise people. It's all very well people sitting there going, oh, isn't it a shame? Oh dear, I do wish they'd done something about it. People have got to get off the bums and send an email to the governor.
Yeah, I remember we did that a year or so again. Yeah. Now,
and Caroline's asking about buying a share for the domain of a symbolic dollar. The problem is, until we get that ranch in the hands of somebody that cares about it and wants to do something about it, or we change the minds of the current owners, our hands are tied.
Yeah, you're kind of throwing away money other than just banking it.
Mean, I'm not going to start asking people for money,
right?
Because there's nothing we can do with it.
That's a good point, Sally. It wouldn't surprise me if these are the type of people to do that, but she says if it's anything like England, which it is, because we have it, buildings left empty mysteriously get burnt down, accidentally, of course. And let me finish that.
What did I rebuild say to you
new
earlier,
houses.
Rick?
Yeah.
I said to Rick, and I pray this isn't the case, but I just have this horrible gut feeling that they're waiting for it just to fall down so they can demolish what's left and either build on it or sell it or get it rezoned
for farmland or
Yeah.
whatever they want to do.
Exactly.
I think the
but
fans,
they're losing money. I can't
yeah.
get my head around the fact why they're throwing money away every day.
I know, it's just irritating. Here, Lesley, you can answer this from Dylan. Is Graceland aware of what's happening to the ranch?
Graceland have been aware of what's happening to the ranch since 2010, if not before.
Right.
The last comment that I heard from EPE was, we are concentrating on the area around Graceland.
Yeah.
We have tried multiple times to get them to, say something, do something, whatever. But we've been knocked back every time. And I know somebody who was at a meeting that Jack Sorden was at several years ago.
Right.
And Jack Sorden actually turned round and said, we missed the boat with the 𝐶𝐴.
Wonder what he meant by that.
I don't know.
Maybe there was a good opportunity to get it and he said no, and then I don't know. That's crazy.
Yep. It's just.
Brent says he says, are there any legal recourses, property rights versus historical value? Could eminent domain come into play? Well, eminent
domain could. That's what I would want the governor to get engaged with.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be it would be for the benefit of the state.
Yes.
It's becoming an eyesore for people in general. I just can imagine the people that live around there, and even though they're Elvis fans or not, driving by there on a regular basis, looking at it, go, why? Yeah. It's nuts.
I know. It just doesn't make any sense. It's an insult to the state of Mississippi.
Yeah.
As well as an insult to Elvis and his legacy.
Yeah.
It's just everything about it's wrong.
Yeah. Cameron says EP is stupid. They have the money and they know they can use it to further Elvis's legacy. They could get onto things now, though. Yeah. It's just not, for some reason they're not interested in it, and I can't imagine that it's cost prohibitive to get it. If you get an appraisal of the land the way it is now, it's definitely not going to be at prime,
no, it's
prime
not.
rate.
It's not. It's losing money every day, value-wise. But this is one of the problems. Last year, in the last 18 months, we've had a couple of people who've been interested in buying it.
Wow.
But could we get the owners to come up with a price? No. They wouldn't even come up with a sensible price.
Right.
What can you do with? And then the potential buyers, they lose interest because the owners just stop talking. So what do you do?
Brent says, I'm wondering if there are any state lobbyists that are Elvis fans. That's a good question.
Well, one of the guys that was up for election as governor last time, he's a Presley.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I wrote to him, didn't get any answer.
And a lot of us wrote to him. Yeah, we were bombarding him with emails.
Yeah. There is, like I said earlier, I feel at the moment like I'm banging my head against the brick wall.
Yeah. No, I totally, what are we, how long have I been working with you on CGF? Almost 3 years now?
3 or 4 years, haven't you?
Yeah. And it's just been, we're no further today other than watching the building crumble. We're no further in our goal as far as trying to have somebody do something than we were then. But to me, it's not one of those things where you say, okay, my hands are tied, until the day I die. I want to be able to at least hope that somewhere along the line, our works and what we do have some kind of results, no matter what it is.
If I didn't feel like that myself, I'd have given up a long time ago.
Right. Cameron, EP's money, our money, saved Graceland. They are obliged, in my opinion, to save the ranch. I feel the same way. I think there ought to be some kind of obligation towards the fans,
Yeah.
And, I think there's a lot of fans out there. A lot of the younger, newer fans aren't as familiar with the ranch because, it's because it hasn't been out there for them to see. It's just a topic.
No,
and
exactly.
if they were ever do something, it's like Tupelo. When you go down to Tupelo, people say, well, if they rebuild the house or fix it all up, it's not going to be original. Well, neither is Elvis's house. The bones are the same, the structure the same, but the interior is not exactly the way it was when he left because they've restored it.
I've always said the thing about the ranch, the cottage that you're looking at the side of now, to me, the thing to do, Elvis only stayed in that for a night or a night or two at the most.
Right.
He was in the trailer behind the cottage. The thing to do is to buy a trailer like Elvis had and restore that to how it was when Elvis was there.
Yeah.
And get, use the cottage as a visitor's centre or the gift shop.
I think of things that would be, some of them may just be like, some people say, well, that's just kind of a tourist trap or whatever. But, I've had things, I think you and I talked a few years ago that when they were having the Powerball here, it was like the $750 million. And I'm like, if I won that, the first thing I'm going to do is going to make an offer for the ranch that they just can't refuse.
Yeah.
And buy it. And then the thoughts of having, without doing any kind of damage to the property, but setting it up to where people can go horseback riding on the property, or they could, you could, like you said, the trailer, but they could create several different trailers where people can rent and stay. And then have treasure hunts looking for Elvis's wedding ring.
Hay bale rides, barbecues. Build replicas of Elvis's barbecue. This is all this is in this document that we produced. I even found it looked like a mobile home, but it looked like the birthplace at Tupelo. And imagine having 6 of those round the lake.
Yeah.
It's
just, you could do so much with it. Do like Riley's been doing. Have a section where they hold concerts there. You could do all that without really damaging the physical part of the property,
without making any footprint damage.
Right.
You're right.
And there's just so much you could do to promote Elvis's legacy.
It's not just that. I've always wanted to get the city of Horn Lake involved and on board, which they have been in the past. The mayor was brilliant with us. Like local businesses hold craft fairs there.
Yeah.
But we went through this whole thing of a calendar of events all through the year, linked to different things in Elvis's career, like German markets at Christmas.
Right.
Different, all sorts of things. We've got so many ideas, but until the ranch is in the hands of somebody that cares about it and who wants to do something with it, where do we go?
Yeah.
We've got to try and mobilize the fans to make so much noise.
Yeah.
So I saw somebody say about bombarding, the governor with emails. That's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
That is the only way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll start a little campaign and just keep, going. We'll generate something like we did last time. We had a form email.
The last but one email campaign that we did, I think it was before you were with us, Rick, when ABG Group took over EPE, we actually did an email campaign to ABG Group saying, look, something needs to be done here.
Yeah.
They actually contacted me and asked me to stop people emailing them.
Yes, not going to happen. Caroline said this. You answered her question. I don't remember the question. I have to look, but she says, I don't speak English, so I don't understand your answer. You'll have to write it to me. So,
I will.
So, if it, Sally says, what's known about the owners? Well, Lesley knows quite a bit about the owners, and we know that they don't give a shit, really.
Yes, that's pretty accurate. The owners, they actually fall into 2 separate groups. There are the Thomases, which is a family in Florida. The lady, Jan, she's the only one that communicates with me properly. She is the one that actually completed the application for the property to go onto the National Historic Register. So all credit to Jan for doing that.
Right.
But the rest of her husband and her son, they've fallen down. They've dropped the ball completely. They're just not interested. They're the ones that won't come up with a price or whatever.
Right.
Then there's another group of people based in Mississippi. And they are the most difficult people to deal with that I've ever come across. They are the ones that would not allow us to put the historic marker closer to the cottage.
Mm.
The historic marker actually stands on a strip of land that belongs to the state.
Yeah.
The state of Mississippi allowed us to place that because the owners would not allow us to put it closer to the cottage.
Crazy.
So those are the kind of people.
So I think that kind of answers Cameron's question that just popped up. I don't know what's gone on the screen yet, but are the owners fans?
No.
Yeah.
Jan has, when Jan did the application for the National Historic Register, she gained a greater appreciation of Elvis.
Mm.
But anybody that allows a property that they own to deteriorate like it has, there is no way she can pretend she's an Elvis fan.
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
But I mean, look at that. When I was there in 2010, there's the picture window. All right, there's a hole in the roof, but at least the porch was up. The porch has fallen down practically now.
One good sign about that hole in the roof is it was actually, you can tell it was actually removed by somebody to keep the rain that was a leak, whatever they had, from spreading through that whole porch. So they opened that up and solved the problem with the leak. Of course, it doesn't look like I don't know whether they ever really covered that back up, but I don't think so, given the pictures we have now. Yeah. Sally's got a good point here too. That, let's face it, no one seems to even care about Vernon's house either.
No, and why EPE haven't got involved with that is beyond me. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and that's just right around the corner. Yeah, crazy. You got Mississippi and Memphis. You got the two most prominent people to come out of Tennessee, and at least Graceland's doing something. EP's doing something. But what's the hurt in expanding the horizons and generating interest for fans? Because if I'm going to Graceland and I'm coming from far away, and I know I'm not going to be going back for years, and I have the opportunity to add the ranch to my list, they're going to get the majority of the people that visit to go there.
Of course, I mean,
as part of a package.
I've said right from the beginning, I came up with the phrase the Elvis Golden Triangle. You've got the birthplace, you've got the ranch, and you've got Graceland.
Yeah.
They all show different aspects of Elvis.
Yeah.
And they're all places that fans want to go to.
And they all kept a special place in
I mean, Elvis, coming up to Elvis week, I get bombarded with messages from people wanting to go to the ranch.
Yeah.
And I have to turn around and say, I can't, it's not up to me, it's up to the owners.
Yeah.
I send them messages, can you arrange for somebody to let these people on and take them, just a little bit round?
Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes in the past they've said, yeah, and they've done it.
Yeah.
I had a group of people from, I think it was Norway, in January wanted to go.
Yeah.
The owners turned around and said no.
I got Cameron's going to pop in here. I think he's going to want to talk a little bit about it too. Just he's going to be in the background here. So I'm adding him to the main scene, which I got to fix the main scene here. Let me add him in here real quick. But anyway, go ahead and keep going, Lesley.
He's there. Hello, Cam.
Hiya, Lesley.
Can you hear him, Lesley?
No, because I've got my telly on mute.
Yeah, she's
1 second.
Yeah, we couldn't get her in on video, so she called in, and I think I know what the problem is with Dylan and her. It's you got to since they don't go to that site, they probably got it in their security settings, Yeah. So all they got to do is just click allow, and they'll be able to get on there. So I sent her the instructions. I'm going to send them to Dylan too. But you brought up some good points there.
I'll unmute listen to Cameron.
Yeah, no, I just felt I needed to climb in on the discussion. Like I said, the fact that they're not fans says it all, because they couldn't give two shits really. Um,
Yeah.
I think what needs to happen, and we've done it in the past when we were faced with the possibility of the jet being sold. Everybody rallied on Facebook, and everybody made a noise, and we got it to the point where EPE had to step in, and Lisa had to step in, and we made sure that the jet stayed, and that the jet was kept within the Elvis community, and that it was not sold off to be forgotten. And
Yeah.
I think this is another classic one of those kind of cases. We
Yeah.
need to we need to rally together. We need to stick together. We need to make noise, and we need to carry on making a noise until somebody takes notice. Because,
Yeah.
like I said in my comments too, the people in Elvis's circle are passing away very rapidly now.
Yeah.
We very soon not going to have firsthand accounts of what life was
Right.
like and how things were. We are eventually going to be left with only the buildings that are going to be there to commemorate who Elvis was and what he did for the American country, but as well as what he did for humanity. And if we allow that to happen, um, within 50 years from now, Elvis is only going to be but a small glimmer of what he is now, and I think that would be a major shame and a major show of disrespect to him, not only as an entertainer and what he did for the world, but to who he was as a person.
Right. I'll let her catch up with what you. Yeah, it's a good comment.
I mean,
You
can
know,
I just say, I mean, Cameron's right. He's 100% right in what he's saying. But please don't think that I've not been making a noise for the last 15 years.
yeah, no, I
I've
know,
been
and
banging on doors since 2010.
Yeah, no,
and I
As have
and
the
and
rest of the team. But
I
yeah, you're right, Cameron. We've got to mobilise. But getting people to mobilise is so hard.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree, and I commend you, Leslie, for doing what you've been doing, because you basically been trying to fight off a major weather storm with a flame, and you can't do that.
right,
People, it saddens me because in the political world, people rally together far easier for irrelevant stuff that makes no difference to
right.
humanity as a whole. But yet, somebody like Elvis and what he did for the world, it's a case of, oh well, you're not important enough. I
Yeah,
mean, I speak from experience. If it wasn't for the Elvis community, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I
yeah,
know that power and that availability and those resources are at our disposal. It's just a case of we need to get together, and we need to really fight for Elvis and what he stood for, because indirectly we fighting and we're making a stand and we're making our voices heard, not only for him but for each other.
yeah. That's what Leslie was talking about a little bit ago about mobilizing the community and getting, just um, going full charge. Sending emails to the governor, to the owners, whatever she, wants us to do, and
You know,
it's so important
the
that that we do that. So, um,
the quickest way, although it might not be,
It's like
uh,
I said, the
it,
problem we have is it's the owners.
yeah,
Until
yeah,
they show willing to either sell it or do something with it,
hmm
yeah,
but if the only way I can see something happening with any great effect is if the governor is made aware how much Elvis fans from all over the world care about the ranch.
I
you
just
know, and we've got to
don't understand why they don't look at the prospect of tourism. Maybe, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know if the community around there doesn't like that idea, but you know, it's not up to them. It's up to the
no,
state.
no, I mean, the city of Horn Lake would like something to happen to the ranch.
Mm.
I mean, I've spoken to the Chamber of Commerce at Horn Lake. I've spoken in front of the mayor and all the Chamber of Commerce years ago, you know, and everybody was on board. Everybody wanted something doing with it because it sat there like that for years and years and years.
Right.
And it could be so good for the community. It really could.
Yeah. Here's let me move him down there. So here's the shot from September 2023. Here's the pitch you sent me. So now this is 2 years ago. You're really starting to see some, you know, what they got the windows boarded up. The door's got a sign on it. I don't know, tell them what the sign says.
No trespassing, it says.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, the door's open.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I've seen a lot of people take pictures. I've seen pictures on Facebook. Look where I'm at. I'm standing in the house on Circle G, and you look around, and it's just, you know, it makes you sick more about, you know, what you're looking at then, you know, and then
that does the Circle G Foundation damage because we get blamed,
right,
for people going visiting the ranch and you know, going where they shouldn't. I mean, that's the back of it in 2024.
Yeah,
the picture window's gone. Look at the roof now.
Yeah, that's the rear elevation. That's just a year ago. Look at it, unbelievable. And then of course today. Go ahead, Cam.
Sorry, bro.
That's okay.
It might be a bit extreme, my suggestion, but this is, you know, me talking directly to the Elvis fans, because if I was in the vicinity of reaching Graceland, I would do it to get the message across. Elvis fans should boycott visiting Graceland just for a week. Just for a week. They would lose enough money through that boycott action for them to turn around and say, hang on, we need to do what they're asking for. Otherwise, we're going to continue losing money, because EPE, unfortunately, is a business. And if that's how we need to talk to them, if that's how we need to work with them, we get to their currency. And unfortunately, their currency, where our currency currently is Elvis's legacy, their currency is money related. So we need to hit them in their currency, which is money related, in order for them to hear us, and in order for us to hear our voices and get our voices heard. If we need to do that, it's very extreme. But I guarantee you, if we do that for a
challenge with that one. Yeah, that was going to be a pretty big challenge. But you know, I agree. I mean, anything we can do. You know, you heard that, Lesley, about what his suggestion was.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The biggest thing is just making more of an awareness with the fans, because I still think that I just don't think the whole knowledge is out there with the fan base really right now. You know, because like I was saying earlier, the majority of the fan base today seems to be the younger generation that really doesn't understand what the Circle G really meant to Elvis, because it's not a topic of conversation really that often.
No, and I don't know what else we can do to get it out there. I've contacted, I mean, fan clubs don't exist like they used to.
Yeah, you got videos that pop up on YouTube about it, good videos. You've got, I don't know if there's ever been a documentary. That'd be interesting to be able to put together a documentary about it, but getting it out there for people to see is one thing, you know. I also think that, you know, if you could going along the lines of what you know, put something together, if you could get a base of, you know, well-known artists out there to do a benefit concert towards it, or make an awareness with it.
I've got a contact that knows people in Nashville, and that was on the cards. We were going to try and get people interested, but the owners wouldn't play ball.
Yeah. Well, you know, you don't have to do it on their property. Wouldn't it be interesting to get somebody across the street or right down the road and say, hey, listen, you can do it here. Set up a stage and do it here, you know? and the and
They
the
could do
and
it in Latimer Park.
yeah, and the promoters will come out there and
See?
they set up everything. They run the power generators, whatever they need, just set it up and do a nice, one night, like a Elvis Palooza, what do you want to call it?
They could
I
do
mean,
it at the They could do it at the Ryman Auditorium.
we've been in contact with the mayor of Horn Lake for 12 months or so. But I mean, they have a big public park, Latimer Park. That I even looked at having the Eternal Flame built there in Latimer Park just to raise some awareness of the ranch and Elvis's time at the ranch.
Yeah, Cam even suggested the Ryman Auditorium. You know what? Do it out at Overton Shell.
Yeah, that's another one.
Wouldn't that be ideal? Overton Shell, we're doing an awareness concert for Circle G. Help us, and you know what that's going to do? That's going to that is going to what's the word I'm trying to think of? Make an awareness of the owners and what they're doing. It's going to put a little shame on their side if they possess that emotion. But when you start getting it out there, because right now to them, and to them, I don't think they feel that anything that's being done as far as trying to promote Circle G is big enough for them to even be concerned about, especially since they're not getting any response from the governor. But if you get an awareness where you get the fans, what a perfect time during Elvis Week. Add a feature when you have a concert at Overton Shell or someplace there, or one down in Tupelo where he had his concert, or Rushwood Park, or I don't even know if some of these places still exist, but some place that has the name of Elvis tied to it, and do an awareness, and you have booklets and all that for people to see, and help us recognize the Circle G, and let's get it in as a place to visit. There's a lot to make that happen. That's the problem.
You could even go as far as to say that
there is so much work involved. I mean, I don't mind hard work. I'll do it for Elvis.
Yeah.
But it takes a heck of a lot of people.
It takes the context,
something like that.
Getting the right person that says, hey, I'll back you.
Yeah.
A promoter, some promoter out there that wants to back it and get the funding for it, and do it.
Who knows? I mean, our patron is Donna Presley.
Yeah.
If Donna could reach out to somebody, and get that. So, I mean, our Spirit of the Circle G ambassador used to be Cody Ray Slaughter. Cody did a photo shoot at the ranch. That was all over the press, everywhere.
Oh.
If we could get people that Elvis fans know and recognize. You're right, Brent. It takes many people doing a little instead of one person doing a lot. Yes.
If you can get any of the Elvis community, Elvis group that was around Elvis, Jerry. I'm just naming names. I have to forget about Jerry Schilling, Riley. Like you said, Donna Presley. Whoever else is around.
The ones that passed, I've got messages from them from 2010, 2011. I've got messages from Joe Esposito, Sonny West, Linda Thompson. They've all said, yes, the ranch was really important to Elvis. Yes. But it's like I say, it's mobilizing people.
Making it worth their while. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's a, I'm going to scratch your back. So there's it seems, today, there's always an ulterior motive to something like that.
Yeah, of course there is.
But, go ahead, Lesley.
No, it's all right. Carry on. I'm just.
No, that's fine. People have made the remark. I'm sharing this picture because Lesley touched a little bit on it earlier, but didn't name it. But a lot of people say, it's too far gone. You can't repair it.
No.
But take a look at the picture of Johnny Cash's home. The before and the after. Sorry guys, I kind of cut off the bottom, but you can see the difference. They saved it.
And I've been in that place, and it's amazing.
Yeah, but you look at it. Look at the bottom. And this isn't. This looks like it's more on a block foundation than it is a brick foundation. But the front porch is crumbling. Look at the roof at the back peak. It's losing shingles. that the glass on a lot of the windows are probably broken. They probably got them covered up with plastic instead of wood, but it's falling down, and they saved it. They've got the same chimney in the back there. Then it looks like they added another chimney. Maybe the other chimney kind of crumbled and they just fixed it, but I've never been there. But it just goes to show you that unless the place is completely down, laying on the ground, if the bones are good, if the bones are good, you're gonna, you're going
That's
to.
it. You can. I mean, the girl that, like I said, the girl that did work on that. She was our historic preservation consultant, and I'm still in touch with her. And she's always been really helpful.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see this right now, but I got the email you sent to the governor. Do you mind if I read it?
No, read it.
Okay.
Fine.
So here's the email he sent to Governor Reeves today. This is today. If you would like to email him to ask for his help, his email address is governor@governorreeves.ms.gov, and I'll post that link in the description below. The more emails he receives, the better chance we have of getting a response. Thank you. Dear Governor Reeves, Elvis Presley, the most internationally recognized son of Mississippi, a cultural icon and one of the very few people recognized around the world by just his first name. The Circle G Ranch, a property in Horn Lake, Mississippi, owned by Elvis and was such recognized as on the National Register of Historic Places, and where we, the Circle G Foundation, and Elvis fans around the world sponsored the Mississippi Historic Marker erected on September 8, 2021, is being allowed to deteriorate by its current owners to such a degree that we are in imminent danger of losing the structures that link Elvis's tenure there. Our nonprofit organization has been tirelessly working over the last 14 years to secure the future of the ranch. We have tried on numerous occasions to help the owners in whatever way we can to secure its future, repair, preserve, and protect, but we continue to hit a brick wall. We hit a brick wall with them. Governor, we implore you to get involved before it's too late and the Circle G Ranch becomes just another piece of Mississippi farmland. Elvis and his legacy deserves action to be taken. The attached picture was taken on April 25th, 3 days ago. As you can see, time is running out. We anxiously await your reply. Yours sincerely, Ms. Lesley Pilling. So, if you guys want to, bombard them with emails, would this be the form they want to use? This format, the reading?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, they can pick the bones out of that. Just stress how they feel. Just get all the emotions down on paper and email him.
Yeah, I'll put the structure of this email in the description below, so you guys can cut and paste and then alter it to your own, pleadings for it. I think it's very well written. It'd be a good one. And then this is what she posted for all of us fans. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is to the owners. I'm sorry. This one, I'm going to read this one. To the owners.
Yeah, read it.
The attached picture was taken by one of the supporters on April 25th. Respectfully, please help us understand why and how the deterioration of the cottage and other structures linked to Elvis' tenure on the ranch is being allowed to continue to such a devastating degree. We all find it unfathomable, considering this is a property recognized as of historic significance and listed on the National Register of Historic Places, commemorated by the Mississippi Historic State Marker erected by ourselves with the support of Elvis's loyal and devoted fans around the world. We recognize that the Circle G Ranch is private property, a fact that we can constantly remind our supporters of. But as such, the condition of the property, its maintenance, preservation, and protection lies in your hands. We are aware that the former caretaker passed away, but the photographs we have been sent from the last week clearly illustrate that no care is being taken of the property now, at least to the level it deserves as a recognized historic site. You are the caretakers of this property at this point in time, a point in time that is critical to the preservation of the structure that link Elvis to it. If something is not done and done soon, it will just become another place of Mississippi farmland, a piece of Mississippi farmland. And if that is to be the case, thank goodness we Elvis fans took the lead and erected the state historic marker to commemorate his time there. Here at the Circle G Ranch, we would be more than happy to help by reaching out to Elvis fans to mobilize them to aid you with the repair and preservation. All you have to do is ask. We respectfully invite you to respond to us and through us to the thousands of Elvis fans around the world who care about the ranch. That's very well written.
I can tell you one thing, but if I was in that area there, me being an Elvis fan, and there was a drive like this, and I had the knowledge, I would go and help out there free of charge. I would
Yeah.
donate my time. I would do it free. I would not expect a cent. I would not expect a Coca-Cola. I would not expect a loaf of bread. I would do it all purely because I love and respect what Elvis has done, what Elvis continues to do, and what he will continue to do in future, provided we keep him in that position.
Yeah. Good points. I think you're going to find that there are more people than you would expect that would do that too, Cameron, because just for the sake of, how we feel about Elvis.
Yeah.
If I was physically able to, with my knowledge in construction,
Oh yeah.
I would lend a hand and everything I could. I would love to put a team together and just start cleaning up the place and securing what we can on the place. And we could do that practically, with very low donations, and the fact of just securing the building to the point where we're not going to allow any more deterioration.
Yeah.
I
mean, they could do it.
Initially, it's just putting a halt to that deterioration.
Yeah, that's the one thing that's one thing that can be done immediately. We could put at least a halt to the continued deterioration by preserving what's there, and then from that point forward, we put a game plan, and hopefully one day get the owners to actually see what the fan. We got fans here coming here to do this work, and they're not charging us. They're preserving our property. They're preserving their financial. And do they have a heart to accept that, or are they just going to be too hard-hearted to say, get off my property? I'll let it crumble if I want to. And those people.
What's the point of the marker going to be when there's no more property?
One of the group of owners that's in Mississippi, he's an attorney. He's a lawyer.
Yeah.
So you have to be extremely careful how you tread.
Yeah, Cameron just said, I'm sure it'll come through in a second for you, but he just said, what's the point of the historical marker?
Well, the point of the historical marker, Cameron, to be honest with you, is if everything falls down, that's the only thing that will mark that Elvis was ever there.
Oh, that's the only thing that's going to, that it does. Yeah. And it's a shame. Oh, wow. It's just a piece of land. What did he do here? When everything's gone. But, I don't want, before I go on, I would love to see that as a tourist place.
Yeah, we spoke about it the other day during the show too.
Yeah,
we spoke about it.
Like I say, if anybody wants to see the document we've produced, just drop me an email and I will email them a copy.
Yeah,
and they can read it, and it will make you realize the potential that's there.
Right. Hey, repeat that again, Cameron.
We spoke about it the other day on the show too. You know, when I was talking about how quickly everybody in the city of Memphis rallied together when the front wall of the mansion was defiled by graffiti. It was 24 hours, and there were people in the city officials helping to clean it up, to preserve it. There were law enforcement officers there ready, waiting to apprehend defilers, to put a stop to it.
Why statement that fans don't care on the live chat? Can't see who said that.
I don't know if anybody said that on the chat today.
It says, when Lesley started the petition in 2023, I think I relayed it to a large number of Facebook groups. It's unfortunate, but the fans don't care. Practically no response. Who said that? Can't see.
Yeah, Carolyn. Carolyn put that comment up.
I think.
when Lesley started
The fans do
petition.
care.
Yeah.
Granted, we didn't get the amount of signatures because people don't feel that petitions do any good.
Yeah.
It's not that they don't care. I won't have it be said that the fans don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we do.
No,
Because that defeats everything that
100% we
we're
do.
trying to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that I think it's gotten to the point today where a lot of people do feel, you can send all the emails you want. I don't, I in that aspect,
Let's put it this way, Rick. A lot of people want other people to do the hard work.
There
They
you
don't
go.
want to get involved.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
You nailed it right there.
Yeah.
Like Jeff
Somebody
said,
else's problem.
Yeah. I'll go visit it when you guys get it fixed, but don't let me know until it's
I'm
done.
an Elvis fan, but I'm not doing anything.
Right.
I'll sit in my armchair and make a noise, but the dirty work needs to be left for somebody else.
Yeah, you hear that? Yeah, he says I'll sit in my armchair and let everybody else make the noise, and it is a shame there's people like that. But as a whole, I'm sure a lot of the one thing I do know that since we start, because I never really followed too much myself about the Circle G Ranch till I got involved with the foundation. I knew about it, what was going on, but I never knew to what extent it had gotten. And now it's just like it's an irritant to me when I think about it, because I would love to see people visiting that place, like we talked about earlier, about setting up for different things that would be of interest. There's so much it would benefit that state so much.
You want to hear the crazy irony?
And it's an insult to the state that it's been allowed to rot away like it is.
Yeah. What's that, Cam?
I mean...
Oh, I'm sorry, Lesley. What's that, Cam?
No, carry on.
The crazy irony about Circle G is I knew about Circle G years ago, but I never knew about the state it was in. But while I was married, my wife, who is not an Elvis fan, saw something on Facebook that Lesley had put up back then already, and she knew of the affiliation about to Elvis with the ranch, and she said to me, "Love, have you seen what the state of Elvis's ranch looks like?" And I said, "No." She said, "Look, I came across it on my Facebook page." And only then did I realize, oh my God, look at this place, it's going to hell. And I mean, that ties into my point that I'm going to make. And unfortunately, I understand and I agree with Lesley and with everyone else too, is unfortunately, the ranch is not in the eye like Graceland is.
Well, that's what Lesley, that's what we're trying to do, is get in the eye. Cam was saying that it was you, that was you, Lesley, that really brought the whole attention to him, and especially through his wife. His wife is the one that noticed it first. And, she noticed your post, and that's when it brought the awareness. So,
she's not even, she wasn't even an Elvis fan.
And she wasn't even an Elvis fan. We'll have to work on, I know how we got it last time is we grouped you in with the phone call. That's how we got it to where she could hear you. We'll have to do that next time. Steve from the Ultimate Fan Channel, Lesley, did we ever get an answer to the last mails we sent? Well, we mentioned that a little bit ago. Yeah.
Not from the governor.
Yeah.
I mean, it was shortly after he'd been elected, so maybe he did have a bit of an excuse, but no, we didn't get any response from him.
Yeah, he said that was a good email that you wrote. So
thank you,
Kathleen. Well said, Cam. You've made some good points there, Cam. Satnin says, "Look at Tupelo. They did a fantastic job bringing it back to life." And one of the things that this is one of the things I really regret about the years of visiting Graceland and going to Tupelo and stopping by Tupelo whenever I drive by, is I never went to the hardware store. And I don't know why I never did that. And I regret that. I think about it, and it's like, maybe in the back of my mind, I just thought, well, it's not going to still be there. I don't know. But, since I've been on YouTube, there's so much I've learned about everything on these, it's like this with CGF. There's lots been, the ranch has been brought to my attention, among other things. And then, it's been like I said, I
Yeah,
learned
it's
more about Elvis than I in the last 4 years than I learned before.
it's sad. It's like I said earlier, pivotal
Yeah,
places.
Steve's made a good point. Think how Elvis would feel if he saw the ranch now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
pivotal places that,
I don't know who actually said that. I think Joe Esposito actually said that to me.
really,
Something very similar. Just imagine how he'd feel.
yeah,
pivotal places that are important to us as fans because we realize the importance it played in Elvis's life are not there anymore. American Sound is gone.
yeah.
Uh,
He's got some point. Cam's bringing up some good points about some of the things
E-
that aren't there
East
anymore
Tree
that are so
Baptist Church is
pivotal.
gone.
Yeah,
Uh,
American Sound Studios.
you
Yeah.
know, East Tree Baptist Church it's gone.
Yeah, the Baptist church is gone. It's just crazy. Wow.
The house that they stayed in a couple of blocks down from the projects, it's gone.
Yeah,
People
it's
still go there today.
and that's why
And
you really want to try to at least preserve one of these things that, to me, is such a pivotal. That was just a pivotal time for Elvis because it was just he was getting ready to. He's getting out of the movies and he's gotten married and it's just such a
Yeah.
period of time that he was at
a total crossroads in his life.
Yeah, he was.
Newly
I don't know if
married
he
man,
want to call it
expectant
this way.
father.
Yeah, to me, he was reinventing himself in his mind.
Yeah.
It was somewhere for him to think. When he was out on that ranch, riding Rising Sun with a loaf of bread under his arm, as he used to do, mending fences, he was thinking. He was, what am I doing now? Where do I go now? What do I do now?
Yeah, Steve's got a good point here, too. I've heard Jerry say this. I can't remember if he said it in the book or what, but Jerry said he was at peace there.
He was. Everybody that I've spoken to and everything I've read, they've all said he was at his happiest when he was at the ranch. Even Priscilla said it.
Yeah.
Yeah, why she's not doing anything?
He could just be Elvis. He didn't have to be Elvis Presley.
Right.
Yeah, he didn't have to be didn't have to be the product. He could be the man.
That was it.
Yeah. What was he said? He didn't have to be the image.
Yeah. No, he didn't.
He said, like he said at the interview, I was myself. I wasn't the image anymore. And he could joke and do and be playing and ride horses and sleep in a little trailer mobile home.
Yeah.
A multi-millionaire sleeping and I'm sure to him that was just like getting back to life as it was before the explosion,
Yeah.
Yeah. Images. I mean, do you know, I've got the receipts, I've got photocopies of the receipts when he paid for the trailers.
Oh, wow.
And Elvis's trailer wasn't the most expensive.
Oh, really?
No, I would imagine not.
Wow.
Now, how many people of Elvis's stature would do that?
Yeah. He cared for the other people.
Yeah, he wasn't bothered whether this was the most expensive trailer. Yeah. He didn't care.
He didn't care. Yeah, he liked driving that old truck out of you see him in the picture.
Out of the back interest. Yeah.
He was just happy to be there and just be close to nature.
You didn't have cell phones back then, and he didn't have to answer a phone. He could just the only way anybody's going to get a hold of him is just to drive down there and say, "Hey." That had to drive Colonel up a wall.
You know what was a very poignant photo for me that ties into the point we're making right now, and it's still out there. 1957.
Yeah, when Dylan's right. When Dylan says that even when it wasn't his anymore, he went back. I've actually got an email from a lady that lived there in 1972, just after Elvis sold it, and he actually turned up one Sunday morning with Linda Thompson, and it was probably Sam and somebody else in the car. And Elvis knocked on the door and said, "Do you mind if I show my friends round?"
Wow.
And they said, no problem. So Elvis drove onto the ranch, showed them round, and she said, on one condition, that you stop and give me your autograph on your way out. And he did.
Yeah, what were you saying, Cam?
The photo that I'm referring to in 57, when Elvis was rich, famous, when he was known, there's a photo of him without a shirt on in the back, riding a tractor.
Yeah, he's talking about that photo. Yeah, that's a great photo of him. He's just bought the house, Grayson, or it was just before. I think it was just after.
It was just
And
after.
he's sitting on a tractor that he bought without no shirt, just
Yeah.
and he loved it. That's what
He did.
he was getting his hands dirty, and he was just, he had that ability. What do you say? He was a very good handyman, I should say. He was very well.
He at the ranch. He used to ride around the ranch with a bag of nails attached to his belt. And if there were any pieces of fence that needed mending, he'd still there any bang a nail in it.
Oh, shame.
That's
funny. I'd say the best explanation.
One time he attached a boat to the back of a tractor and dragged everybody around the ranch in the boat. He thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
The best explanation
he used to do there.
Yeah.
The best explanation would be.
He had a ball. He loved it.
Yeah. What's that, Kim?
The best explanation would be he was a human being living a human experience in an insane world.
Yeah. He was living a human experience in an insane world, basically is what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
It was and I can't think other than getting even, Grayson was his place of getting away from the world when he can get in there. But there had to be just a totally different feeling that when he could go to the ranch and not be holed up in a room, but he can get out there on the land and do what he wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
He could ride his horses, drive his trucks, buy everybody else trucks, and have fun with his buddies and play football and lose his wedding ring and stuff like that.
Oh, he didn't lose it.
Oh, he didn't.
I have it on very good authority. He lost it on purpose.
Oh, sounds like something he would
throwing
do.
Involved.
Yeah, something like that.
I know somebody who was there at the time.
Really? That's funny.
Yeah.
You kind of wonder about stuff like that, but that's funny.
Yeah, that makes sense because I can guarantee if it was lost, somebody would have found it.
Elvis Graceland on the tractor. I bought in an auction a few years ago a photograph taken on the day that Elvis bought the ranch, and he's walking onto the ranch, and it was taken by a press photographer from the Memphis Press Scimitar.
Mm.
And I bought it in an auction from Graceland.
Oh, wow.
And it's the back of Elvis walking onto the ranch. And when you realize how rare pictures are of Elvis at the ranch.
Yeah. Yeah, the only pictures I've ever really seen of him on the ranch is the cookout, the barbecue, or whatever it was that they had. A few videos like that. The picture of him and Priscilla at the bridge, and then him driving out in the pickup. Those are
there are pictures. I mean, I know that Billy Smith has pictures.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that Marty Lacker had pictures.
I
approached Marty Lacker asking him, would he be willing to share the pictures? But he wanted...
Yeah.
Let's just say he wanted more than I was prepared to pay for.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a shame. I'm sure Billy's got some stuff that
oh yeah, Billy will have.
Some stuff that.
But I mean, it was a private place. It wasn't about taking photographs.
Right.
No.
Yeah, like Cam said, it was his getting away from an insane world. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, I said in one of my pieces I wrote that his life was a storm, and the quiet place at the center of the storm was the ranch.
Yeah.
For that short period of time.
Yeah. Now, did he really was it financial reasons he sold it, or did he just get tired of it?
No, I think he was under pressure. I think it was both. I think it was the Colonel putting him under pressure to get back to Hollywood. I think it was his daddy putting him under pressure for the amount of money he was spending. And Elvis did not like confrontation. And if people started getting to him like that, he just said, "Forget it."
Yeah, a ranch like that
And that was it.
would be a drain on finances because it's not a
course it
profit
would.
unless he was
not a
doing
working
something.
ranch.
Yeah, it's not a working ranch, so it's going to be a drain on his finances, just like Graceland. Maintaining a property like that would on a regular basis. So now he's having to maintain that, whatever other properties he had at the time, in L.A. and
I mean, what he could have done, or what he should have done, in my opinion, was make it into a working ranch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he could just go down and spend time there.
Yeah.
When he wanted.
Yeah.
It's big enough to have been a working ranch with cattle back on it again, because there were cattle on it when he bought it. There was St. Gertrudis.
Now we know what they had for barbecue.
Cattle on there.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, this has been extremely enlightening and a great conversation. I've learned some stuff, but for those of you watching us, I'm going to have all the information below down in the description of the email address, a copy of the email that was sent to the governor, and then I'll also post some things on my Facebook, and we'll get it all out there so that maybe everybody can send an email, and send 2, send 3, send 4. Just keep sending them.
Yeah, please.
And
share them with all your Elvis friends and all your Elvis groups. Just share it and make them aware of how important this is, that we make some noise, rattle some cages.
Yeah, if you do a cut and paste,
finally get something done.
Yeah, if you do a cut and paste and you alter just a little bit for you, save it, and that just keep sending it. You're talking about 2 minutes to cut, paste, put it in there, put your name in there, and hit send. It's done. And you can do that off your phone. Once you do it the first time, you can do it off your phone constantly. You can do it anytime on the phone too. You can do it on your phone, like when you're sitting at the dinner table with the rest of the family who's staring at their phones.
Yeah, we want the governor to get so fed up. We want his inbox to be full of emails about the Circle G Ranch.
A greasy wheel, a squeaky wheel gets oiled eventually.
Just send him so many that he contacts me and says, "Stop it." At least he's contacted me and said something, and my foot's in the door then.
Yeah, Duncan, you're right. Nowadays, if fixed up, it could be a huge money for. I'm sorry, it disappeared.
Yeah.
It would make a huge lot of money as an Elvis tourist site to visit. Yeah, exactly.
Of course it would.
Like Lesley said, the Elvis Triangle. Graceland, Tupelo.
Please, if anybody wants a copy of the document, Our Vision for the Ranch, the Circle G Experience, drop me an email, send me a message. I'll send you a copy of it, and you will totally understand how much potential there is there.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and add all this into my newsletter I'm sending out this week. I'll add it on there, and I could put that in there too. I could do a couple pages of the letter that went to the governor, and just highlight what we're doing. And
I appreciate that.
And I'm going to create a video of my newsletter too. So,
I'm going to do this now so that everyone can hear me. Yeah. I'm making the plea. Send me the draft of that email. I'm gonna cut and paste it and work it around my way. I commit to sending out that email once every week.
Okay, so I'm going to send it to Cam. You'll hear it in a second, but he wants the email. I'm going to send it to him, and he's going to do it put it out on a regular basis. Just continuously keep sending it to him. So he's got.
Thanks, Cam. I appreciate that.
So,
thank you so much.
And like I said, it's a simple process. We're fans, and it's to me, it's the easiest thing you can do right now to help out. It's just you can do it from your wherever you're at. It's a simple process. So, like I said, the link, the format will be in my description once this goes up. I'm actually going to take this live feed, and I'm going to upload it into the video section as a replay, so more people can see it that way too.
Thank you. That's brilliant.
Yeah, and it's one day at a time, and hopefully somewhere along the line that wheel gets hopefully will get oiled, and
let's hope so.
At a point in time, even when you harass, I don't want to say harass, but when you really pester people, like
yes,
eventually they're going to say the only way we're going to make this go away is if we at least do something. We got to do something to appease them.
You've got to rattle the cages.
Yeah. Kathleen says it would be nice to ride a horse and have a guide to talk about Elvis on the ranch. God, that's dead on.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that is one of the things
Yeah.
I've actually ridden a golf cart around the ranch.
Oh, isn't it
Oh,
cool? But
Leslie.
I've driven a golf cart around the ranch.
There's so much you could do that wouldn't alter or do any kind of destruction of the property, like with camping and with, like we said, with the mobile homes, with the horseback riding.
Yeah.
You could do
Exactly.
cookouts and concerts and set it up
Yeah.
for an amphitheater. You could just so much that would generate, and people would come
Mhm.
build it.
They-
What's the saying in Field of Dreams? If you build it, they will come.
Yeah,
So-
it's like during Elvis week too, when accommodation in the hotels is so expensive.
Yeah.
And Priscilla will account to this too. When they went over, Leslie, I'm sure you know too from your side. From my side, it would be financially impossible to do it because would never have the money in 1,000 lifetimes to do it. But you could use that space on the ranch in Elvis week. They could set up cheaper accommodations for people. They could lease out spaces there for camping sites. People go in there, they set up their tent, they camp out for 3 days, 4 days during Elvis week. It's money that comes in that gets plowed back into the upkeep.
Yeah,
They set up their tent, they camp out for
I'll let
3
her
days,
catch up with
4
that.
days during Elvis week. It's money that comes in that gets plowed back into the upkeep.
Yes, exactly.
I see comments all the time on Facebook about people going to Elvis week and they're all concerned, where do I stay? Where do I stay? Where's the safest part of town? Because
Yeah.
Memphis isn't exactly crime free. There's a lot of
Memphis.
areas down there, so people are concerned about that. But when they have an option to go 10
Yeah.
miles, and what is that, a 15-minute drive maybe with no traffic?
Yeah.
You go, you go down there and you can stay you can camp out, you can cabin or mobile home or things like that. And tell you the truth, I think they would get prime money for something like that.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Well,
Duncan has a good suggestion too. I agree with you, Duncan.
Yeah.
Annual music festival.
Yeah. An
Brilliant.
annual music festival could be there in Elvis's memory. That's from Duncan. It's there's so many. I've thought about this many times. I just, I told my wife, I said, if we ever win the lottery, I said, you better count on the fact that I'm going to be spending my share on buying the Circle G ranch if I can. And I said, and then
Laurie will never forgive me.
I said, but you'll never have to work again. Just keep that in mind. But I will expect you to run out there and run it for me. I'd never see her again. That would be it. No, she.
If you buy the ranch, Rick, I'll build a bungalow further down and I'll stay there with the dogs. How's that?
There you go.
I'm emigrating.
I dream of stuff like that. It would just be, anytime anybody, and even before I got involved with Circle Ranch, I always had the thought that if I did win a lottery, I'll never win because I got to buy a freaking ticket first. But I've always had that thing. Well, I would buy something that, something that belonged to Elvis. I would buy the black leather suit if I could, which I'd never be able to, but they would never put up sale. But, I would buy whatever's available. If I could get a hold of the peacock suit or stuff like that, I would do it in a heartbeat. But then when this started with the Circle G, I thought, just think of how much we could do with that. And we wouldn't have to, I get excited thinking about it. And then I realize you're just wake up, Rick. Are you high on something? It's not going to happen right now.
We can all dream, can't we?
Yeah, I dream about it, but this has been great. I know we had a few technical difficulties. I'll have to get with you, Lesley, before we do our inside the studio and some of the other stuff we're going to do with you, and we'll get it sorted out. I think what it is, and I had this issue once before. I think what it is your security settings in Google, where you go in there and you have to click allow that site, and that's it. And I'll bet you when you go there, you're going to see EV Mux there, and you just have to click allow, and then it's over with.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Dylan's problem was. Now that I think about it, so we'll get that sorted out. But it worked out. We got a great connection with you. Am I coming through good, Cam?
Yeah, loud and clear, bud.
Yeah, I got that problem worked out too. And everything generally 9 times out of 10, and Cameron reminds me of this, it's human error. It's human error. No, Cameron doesn't do that. Him and I had gone through so many different things trying to get this all sorted out and get the phone calls to come through, and things are getting there. We're but a little promo for Elvis A to Z, 9 p.m.
Elvis
on
who?
Wednesday. We're going live on the radio playing the Memphis concert 1974. We're going to be live. We're going to take phone calls. Now, we're going to be doing Concert Corner at different times so other people can do it. So we're doing this one at 9 this time. We'll do another concert at a different time. So Cam and I are going to be all over the board doing a lot of live stuff. We've got so much planned that every time we talk about, let's do this and this. So we're setting our schedules. Every Saturday at 2, we do the Inside the Studio, which this Saturday was our best one. If you haven't seen it yet, you guys got to check it out. And we're going to be doing a separate Inside the Studio covering all the American Sound songs. So,
Fabulous.
Yeah, so check that all out. And we appreciate everybody that joins us on Sundays. We're doing the book reviews. We're actually, Cam and I are going to do a separate book review each week too. And this week, well, Cameron's going to tell me which one yet because he's got the books. We're going to it's just a one-day conversation. We're either going to review this one, which is Colonel Tom Parker, The Curious Life of Elvis Presley's Eccentric Manager by James L. Dickerson. That's what Sony and Boz bought for a reference point. And then Elvis and the Colonel by Dirk Vellenga. Not a book that I read some points in it that really were disturbing to me, but like I mentioned on our live shows, we're trying to cover as much of the Elvis books out there before Peter's book come out because we want to do kind of a comparison and reference point. But and that's going to include having to read to review Alana Nash's book. So I'll be taking some drugs before I read that one. I'm not a fan of Alana as a person mainly too. So she's just kind of an arrogant person. But anyway, it's going to be some interesting conversations. He's such a volatile topic, but on our book review with Last Train to Memphis, it's taken so long because we have some great discussions that branch off. But like I say, I call it the DNA of the Elvis world. We're examining the whole from Dewey Phillips and Sam Phillips all the way up till 77 and all the key players and the different impacts. And we've talked about the Colonel and had some discussions, not heated, but just some little discussions of what's correct and what's not. But it's all been very respectful and I've been enjoying it. It's taken longer, but I'm glad that everybody's really getting into the discussion. So we thank everybody. Leslie, I thank you very much for taking the time to do this. I'm glad we did this. I just felt like we got to do something else. If I sit here and think about it, we'll plan it next week. It won't happen.
Well, I'd like to say thank you, Rick, for doing this, and thank you everybody for supporting the Circle G Foundation. And please continue to do so. We need you. Elvis needs you.
Yeah.
The ranch needs you.
Right. Yeah. And if you guys ever have any questions, my email address is in the description of my channel. But just real quick, my email is somewhere in here. Well, here's the Circle G's email. And these are down below. All these emails are down below in the description. Here's my email. Real simple. All Elvis number 2 Z at gmail.com. So if you have any questions or, want to get involved with it, just, email me or Leslie and, we'll guide you in the right direction. But, Duncan, thank you. Satnin, good to see you again. Steve, appreciate it. Good to see you. Brent, I don't know if he's still online, but Brent, Kathleen, all of you. It was a great. Sally, nice seeing you again. I'm trying to go over there. Brent. Dylan was on board. Sally again. Yeah. So, thanks. And TCB to everybody. Have a good night, good morning, or good afternoon. Where, like he said in Truman, what was it he said at the end? Good morning, good night, good evening. See y'all later. So TCB, thanks everybody. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye bye.